going live. I will put this in the
Everybody,
chat.
welcome. Big weekend for Florida State. Big weekend for Knowles 24/7. Been a big couple weeks, man. I'm a look a lot more well rested than my compatriots right now. But here we are on the eve of official visit weekend, and we thought, you know what? Let's just add some more work to Zach Blostein, Brendan Sinone's plate. Let's just do that. Let's just debut a whole new YouTube recruiting show series right now, because this is going to be the first one of many, I think. Something's been cooking for a while, of the official visit with Zach Blostein. I'm going to be the host. Brendan's going to rotate hosting duties, whatever. And we are going to have a strictly recruiting focused show, and we are going to crush it. What better time to start than the eve of the biggest official visit weekend in college football, and one for a Florida State program that is cooking with gas on the trail. The man, the myth, the legend, Zach. How you feeling, man? We've been talking for a little bit about getting this show off the ground. Now you've got your own vehicle. You're a star, brother.
Hey, you're riding shotgun, so nothing can go wrong. I'm super excited. We, like you said, we've been talking about this for a while, so glad to have another outlet for FSU fans to kind of acquire some recruiting information. Ready to get after it.
Me too, and thank God we have the steady hand of Brendan Sinone. He hasn't had a busy day on social media today. He may be fiery on the Twitter streets, but he's a steady hand on the YouTube sheets. How you doing, buddy?
Ooh, I like that. I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a weird fever dream of a day, but that's all right. I'm here with my buddies right now and ready to help out however I can.
And guys, we just want to let you know there's a lot of recruiting content out there, but this is your show as much as it is our show. So we're going to be big time on fan engagement. We're going to answer questions in the chat. We've got a whole thread on Knowles 24/7. We're going to answer those questions. We want to get to the meat of what you want to know about FSU's really damn good recruiting right now of the moment. So hopefully this will be something we can do on a semi-weekly schedule, so you can tune in, hit that Knowles 24/7 YouTube, put the subscriptions on, and maybe we can make this a regular basis and make your Thursday nights a little bit more enjoyable. But let's start out, Zach. Big weekend for Florida State. Transfer portal guys, high school guys, uncommitted guys, committed guys. You're breaking news. You're literally breaking news. 2 minutes before we get on this show, Zach was on the phone with a recruit. We will reveal which one in 1 second. But Zach, how do you feel about the moment? You were trained in the fires of Josh Newberg, right? So you know about momentum. You know juice. On the Blostein juice-o-meter right now, where's Florida State sitting?
Man, it's up there. I would say 7 or 8. I mean, if you're talking straight transfer
with
portal,
pulp, baby, with pulp.
If you're talking about straight transfer portal, I mean, we're going 9 or 10. It's at an all-time high for FSU's recruiting momentum, especially in the portal. We'll see what they do with the high school ranks over the next kind of less than a week until signing day. Signing is this coming Wednesday, December 21st. So that's when we'll see that whether FSU can close on a lot of the high school targets they have remaining. But man, the recruiting momentum's serious over here in Tallahassee.
Almost hard to believe after the disaster of a close that what was last year, that hasn't been erased completely from Florida State fans' memories. But man, a lot more than I thought, because the start off so far with the transfer portal recruiting, Daryl Jackson, Jaheim Bell, Kyle Morlock today, some serious momentum. We haven't even gotten to this last visit weekend yet. Brendan, do you feel the same way? Do you feel some kind of palpable momentum on the trail? What do you think is different? Is it just that successful season with Florida State? Are there other factors contributing to this momentum? I mean, has the recruiting prowess of the staff been undersold a little bit by some? What do you think it is, man? Pontificate.
It's a combination of all of those things. I mean, I think the momentum that you're talking about is very real. It is real in recruiting. There's not fake momentum. Shout out Manny Diaz, or as Christine likes to say, Diaz. It is a real thing, and it starts off with winning 9 games and frankly being ahead of schedule. There's people on the coaching staff who didn't think 9 games in the regular season was super realistic, and they surpassed even their expectations, even optimistic ones internally. And with that has come this sense of energy and enthusiasm among the players. And as you're starting to see guys return, Jordan Travis, Trey Benson are among the big names who have announced, but there have been others. And as you start to see that buy-in kind of trickle throughout the roster, it's leading to this tangible energy and excitement about Florida State that other players are seeing. And we don't feel that at any more of a profound level than in the transfer portal, where guys that only have a couple of years or just 1 year to make the most of their opportunity uh, are seeing what Florida State has done on the field this year, what they've done with transfer portals. And that's all leading to a ton of interest in Florida State and a ton of buy-in from current recruits right now. So yeah, man, it's a real thing. It's really cool to see happen in live time.
Yeah, and it's not like what it was a lot of times last year. Undervalued prospects, Florida State kind of swimming at that, like if there's an A tier of transfer recruit, it's not them like cleaning up the B tier. Jaheim Bell, like Southern Cal wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Morlock, Tennessee wanted him. Tennessee, with a program that had about as much momentum as anyone in the country, huge NIL game before Hendon Hooker's injury. Like they're going against the big boys. Jeremiah Byers has an Ohio State offer. Like it's a different level. So we've spent a lot of time about transfer portal. I think we will. But Zach, you got scoops for days, brother. You're a scoop machine. Let's drop the latest one that you heard about a prospect that is highly coveted by some huge NIL programs across the country. But this one's in the high school ranks. I think you've got something to say, right?
Yeah. So just got off the phone actually with 4-star FSU defensive line commit Keldrick Falk. He tells me I'm a good to report that he will be on campus at FSU this weekend for an unofficial visit. Still figure out, which days, but I asked him, is FSU the only school you're seeing this weekend? He said yes. So FSU's coaches, Mike Norvell and John Papuchis, are actually with Keldrick right now or about to be with him. He said they're going to do his in-home visit right after he finishes watching this basketball game. I don't know, where he's at, but he called me from a basketball game. It was really loud, actually.
It was.
Yeah. So he, he confirms that he'll be on campus. That's what he's kind of been telling me all week, but the plans weren't super locked in. He kind of laid out what I could say, and he will be on campus this weekend, according to Keldrick himself.
The first OV show scoop. It was amazing. We got to see it live. Zach was exchanging Snapchat filters with Papuchis. He put himself on the little snowman going down the sled. Papuchis used a voice changer. Norvell put himself in like a filter with dreads. It was a magical moment. I wish you guys could have got to see it, but we got to keep some of the magic to ourselves. I'm definitely not lying about that at all. Let's talk about the guys that are also going to be on campus. That is huge. That's right, Briley. That is a scoop. Big time scoop.
Like Chris Carter not liking that as a scoop. I don't think is paying attention to what's happening. That is not the Chris Carter, but a Chris Carter, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm sure it has an H in his name, like a scrub. Anyway, let's talk about the guys that are going to be on campus, starting with like the number 2 transfer portal prospect in the entire country, another coveted prospect, that is Fentrell Cypress from Virginia. Guys, this seemed to be, if you looked at like transfer portal recruitments from the past, one that Florida State would have been on, hey, he would have tweeted out the offer, and then I'm going to move on to the LSUs, the DB Factories, the Ohio States, whatever, and hey, thanks for your time, Norvell, but I'm a top-tier transfer guy. No. On him fast, surgical precision, speed, and tell me about his official visit, Zach. Is Florida State his last one? Is he going to see anybody else? I mean, are we feeling better about this level of prospect than we should? I don't think so. They've done great work.
Yeah. It's honestly surprised me just the amount of headway they could get in this kind of recruitment. Like you said, in past years, based on the record they've had on the field, they probably just get, an offer tweet and that's it. FSU's conducted at least 2 in-home visits that we know of with Fentrell Cypress himself. And, have obviously set up an official visit for this weekend. With Fentrell. And this is, like Brendan reported earlier on Noles 24/7, the only expected official of the week for Fentrell. He was at UCLA last weekend. So it looks like these are the 2 schools that will host him within this open period since the portal opened last Monday on December 5th. Of note, he did say there's a possibility he takes his recruitment into January. There's an open 4 days, January 4th through the 8th, or transfer portal prospects that are trying to enroll mid-year, which means they're trying to enroll in January at their next stop, can visit schools during those 4 days. So Fentrell might be a guy that wants to do that. Obviously, he'd have to squeeze in some official visits if multiple schools are involved. FSU's goal for the weekend is probably to try to get him to not take his recruitment to distance and make a decision here in December. That would obviously favor FSU, as UCLA would probably be their biggest comp as the only other school to get him on campus. I'll let Brendan kind of chime in here, because this is kind of the recruitment that he's led on all 24/7 and reporting. So I want to get his thoughts on FSU's chances with Fentrell.
We've tag teamed it. We've both have helped out with this.
Yeah,
it's kind
it's
of
been amazing work. Great
that
synergy. You've been really good, buddy.
Thank you. So AB had asked on the X's and O's channel about what I thought FSU's chances for landing Cypress would be. I know what I said. I think I rambled, but I know what the number was. Zach, I want to get your number. What percentage chance would you give FSU of landing Fentrell Cypress as of today?
This has changed over the days, but I think
has it gone up over the days or down over the days? Okay.
Because we had heard earlier in the week, or Brendan heard earlier in the week, that Fentrell was going to be on campus this week, but we weren't sure the exact days, whether he'd be taking another official visit or two. We're still ironing out the details. So I was like, maybe FSU doesn't have that great of a shot if he's going to take multiple, but it looks like this is going to be his only one. So I'm at 50% right now. FSU's chances to land Fentrell Cypress.
What did you do, Brendan?
Whoa, Freudian slip. 75%. I went with 75%. I think FSU. I think FSU hits more of the criteria than UCLA does, which is the only school he's officially visited. Getting him in for the entire full weekend. Like we see Braden Fisk, the Western Michigan guy, not to jump ahead too much, but he's going to go to USC after his FSU official visit. It will be a truncated visit. FSU is getting like a pretty good amount of time, but a lot of
that plane for as long as possible.
Yeah, maybe there'll be a little inclement weather.
That's the word, yeah.
Yeah, bad weather. There'll be bad weather, and you just have to stay from Tallahassee a little bit longer. But the fact that with this potential, like with all these schools that you want to check out and so little time to do it, the fact that Fentrell Cypress is not going anywhere else this week or weekend, and you're getting the full allowed amount of time for the official visit, I think that's huge. I think Adam Fuller has hit it off really well with Fentrell Cypress. He got in on that recruitment very early. They just seem to have gelled and have clicked, and to get this visit, I mean, it's a really big deal. I think it's more likely FSU gets him than not right now. And I think I would be disappointed at this point if they did not find a way to get him. He's the number 2 player in the transfer portal right now. He's a huge deal for FSU, premium position. Like, yes, like this would be big.
I think so too. 76% that we get him. 76%.
Whoa,
76%. I came up to that number out of the air. So one thing too, before we move on to the other people, I think that's a good recruiting heat check, Zach, and see if you agree. Kid like Cypress, they were able to have him not go anywhere else this weekend. Kid like Braden Fisk, we're going to talk about next. There are some kids that are planning to have visits after the FSU visit. Can Florida State shut that visit down? Will a high school prospect like Chris Otto, the tackle we'll talk about a little bit later, will he take his recruitment past early signing day? How many of the kids are actually going to sign early? As you saw last year, Florida State had very little leverage, very little momentum with a lot of that stuff, and they had a brutal signing day. I think that could be something with all of the new landscape, the wins, the proof of concept. God, I said it. Everybody's tired of me saying it. I won't say it again on this show. The NIL environment is much different surrounding Florida State now. Will that make a tangible difference? Do you agree with that, Zach? Do you think that a kid, some of these, do you think Norvell is going to be able to fend off some of these post FSU visits? It's always about getting the last visit in recruiting. Do you think Florida State has the leverage and the juice to kind of fend some of this stuff off right now and be the final pitch these kids hear?
Yeah, I think they do. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis. Some schools are positioned better in multiple facets than FSU still, even after a season where they exceeded expectations. Some of these prospects are getting recruited by big-time schools. Like you said earlier, Jeremiah Byers, the guy that's been offered by Ohio State. What if they get him on campus? FSU is obviously still maybe a tier behind Ohio State when it comes to both on-field production and recruiting, but they're getting there. And I think, we've seen with the recruitments, you mentioned Kyle Morlock and Jaheim Bell, USC was involved in that Jaheim Bell recruitment. There were different factors there. Like I said, it's a case-by-case basis. he's really, keen on his family being able to attend his games. His mom told me they want, or at South Carolina, he'd have 10 to 30 family members at every game. So now, now there's not a family member more than an hour and 45 minutes away from Tallahassee. So, that was a specific case-by-case basis in the Jaheim Bell situation, but they fended off USC, who was, obviously an NIL power, and trust me, they were flexing that NIL power, and they will continue to do that in the portal. So FSU is definitely in a better spot to fend off some of those late visits, but we'll see, right? I think a lot of these recruitments are unique of each other, but I think FSU's, mixed with what they did on the field, plus just they have this recruiting mojo right now, especially in the portal. It looks pretty good for what they're trying to accomplish over the next couple weeks.
It's an impressive body of work, Zach. You're calling kids, you're calling coaches, you're calling moms. There's a specific question in the Knowles 24/7 thread about your prowess.
I was hoping you were going to avoid that.
We're diving directly into it. It sounds like you're hunting for scoops wherever you can find them, especially with moms. Very interesting stuff. Braden Fisk, that's an interesting recruitment. He's going to be at USC for a day, possibly after the visit. He's already on campus right now, guys, right? This is a dude he's played at Western Michigan, penetrating defensive lineman, went to Notre Dame already, which is like 5 seconds away. He's, you can tell, Midwest, I understand. We all have the same complexion. Notre Dame offer carries a lot of weight where the mayonnaise people like myself live. He's coming to campus. He's already on campus right now. USC's coming. Is there a way that possibly we think that Florida State can use inclement weather to their advantage? That's how that word's pronounced, Brendan. Is it something to where is the up in the air status of like a Fabian Lovett? This is a kid who wants immediate playing time. Is that working for or against FSU in that recruitment? Give me a little bit of insight of what's going on with Fisk, man. High value target in a pretty thin defensive tackle portal class.
Yeah, I think that's important to note, right? There aren't a ton of options along the defensive line in the portal right now, but if you were to stack them up, Fisk is definitely at the top or really close to the top. And for FSU's case, that they really love Fisk. There's a guy that they identified as soon as he went in the portal that first day, when he was allowed to, and Adam Fuller made a visit out there as soon as the contact period opened, and has been there multiple times. So yeah, a guy they really like. I think they would take him no matter what Fabian Lovett does. If he decides to stay or go. Braden Fisk is a guy that they want in this class, and is a guy that they're really pushing for.
I believe that. Yeah,
like you said, he's already on campus. He arrived kind of midday today, and then he'll stay. He told Brendan until Saturday afternoon, and then fly out to USC after that. So obviously, it looks like the Florida State visit will be a little bit longer than the USC one, considering he has to make that 5-6 hour flight out there to LA.
And there's no way there's not a connecting flight flying out of Tallahassee.
Exactly.
So
not quite the old metro hub, that Tallahassee airport. Brendan, you've spoken with Fisk.
Yeah.
Does he seem like a guy that's open to doing the move from the Midwest to California? What is his thoughts on the whole? I know you said his head was kind of spinning at this whole recruiting experience. I mean, a guy from Western Michigan, I don't know where he originally hails from. Is he moving out to the mean streets of LA like playing hopscotch over a bunch of used needles and things like that? I mean, is he a Hollywood guy? What do we think, man? What do you think about FSU's chances here? Like Cypress, targeted early and a lot of resources expended on this one.
He's from Michigan City, which is in
Indiana.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is right by, I think, Lake Michigan. And it's really
makes
really
sense, right? Yeah, aptly named.
Yeah, makes sense indeed. So initially, he'd gone on record. I can't remember who it was with 24/7.
I think Alan True.
Yeah, and kind of laid out this is what I'm looking for. This is who I've talked to so far, and geography, location was a priority for him. Again, it's a guy who's playing college football pretty close to where he grew up. He had one offer out of high school, so kind of a condensed.
Come on, we can do it.
You got this.
Inclement.
You can do it, buddy. Yeah.
Inclement.
No, now you're Charlie and Always Sunny. You're just saying filibuster. You're just saying words.
He had kind of, I don't want to say shelter is not the right word, but just he hasn't seen this expanse of options in front of him before. But as
Correct.
the recruiting process has happened and occurred, and different coaches have come to visit him, the schools that he mentioned as like the final, I guess it wasn't even finalists. They were the ones who were just talking to him the most right now, the ones he was entertaining the most. It was
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, obviously, which, yes, it is very close, as you mentioned earlier, Trey. It was Florida State, which far away. It was USC, far away. Oklahoma, not particularly close. And then Rutgers, which isn't particularly close. So
Or
it went,
good, yeah.
or good. Rutgers was kind of an interesting, was the outlier of all of those. Like, that didn't make a ton of sense. But I digress. He has opened up to the idea of going elsewhere, right? And not having to be close to home. I still think like Notre Dame's going to have a really good shot because it's a good program. It is close to home. But the two big priorities for him, you mentioned, Trey, one, playing time. Like, that is going to be big. I think he is a take. I don't think he is a take for Florida State no matter what happens with Fabian Lovett. He would be a starter. Fabian would probably be more of like a one technique for them moving forward, and Fisk would be more like a three tech because he is so good as a pass rusher. But he's a guy you can move across the line of scrimmage, really. He played in a really multiple system at Western Michigan, was defensive end, defensive tackle, so you can move him around. He would be a take. FSU loves the way he handles himself. He is a grown man in both the physical and just like emotional sense. But number two is development. I mean, that is really important for him, is going to a program that will get the most out of him in this short window. He's a graduate transfer, so he has 1 year to get it done and to become a draft pick. He wants to go to a place that's going to be good at strength and conditioning, going to be good with nutrition, and it's going to prove that it can develop players at his position group at a high level. That, still Chris Needham, that checks a lot of the boxes for Braden Fisk. So I think FSU faces somewhat of an uphill battle against Notre Dame, but this weekend provides you the chance to make a huge impact. If you could put together a really good official visit, you have a decent chance at him.
Now, my question too, I knew he'd be a take, I think whatever we do with Lovett. I'm saying from Fisk's position, is he intimately aware of the roster, to where that he knows that one of Florida State's starting defensive tackles is kind of on like a will he, won't he basis? Has that been something that's been mentioned, or would he enjoy the opportunity of playing next to a kid like Lovett, take some of the heat off of him, and he could get some more opportunities for an interior pass rush? Have you guys gotten that detailed with it yet?
He mentioned when we spoke that they're going to lose 2 or 3 defensive tackles. The 2 would be Robert Cooper and Jarrett Jackson. The third would be Fabian Lovett. So I believe that conversation has happened.
Okay, so it was a positive for him then. Like, we're losing a couple, could be 2, could be 3. That's what's drawing me to that.
He wanted to make sure he doesn't go to a place. He mentioned specifically 15 to 20 snaps a game. He wants to make sure he doesn't go and get that like backup role. Like, he wants to make sure he goes and gets, I don't even know if starter is going to matter to him. He wants to make sure he's getting 25, 35 reps a game, which is totally reasonable. Like, that makes sense. He's got 1 year to do it, right? But he did mention, Trey, specifically like their defensive ends that he said, we'll see what happens. He mentioned Jared Verse specifically. And I love that anecdote that he mentioned what a guy from going to the FC.
Yeah. He mentioned the school name too. Right?
He mentioned Albany. Yeah. He said,
so he was very familiar with Florida State's prowess as not rehab, but I guess development destination, right?
For a defensive lineman at a lower classification of football. If you think about G5 as a tier system now, right? So that stuck out to me. And I think Braden is he's mature. He's, I think, probably 22, 23 years old now. So, like, he understands, like, he was going to be a good recruit. And what was that?
It's a fist bump, man. He's happy. Yeah, exactly. Another mature guy, he's just fist pumping maturity.
Keep sipping.
He's apoplectic at maturity. Go ahead, Brendan. Zach was happy that you said something nice about a 22-year-old. But anyway, he's a mature young man, going to fit in good with the roster, but very logical, analytical, probably enjoys the approach that Mike Norvell and all those guys have, right? It's a very business-like, to-the-point approach.
I think that is I think that's resonating well with both Braden Fisk and Deuce Cypress, right? I knew you'd like that, Trey. I think it's resonating with both of those guys. There is a reason why they've done so well in the transfer portal. And when we started off the show, like, yes, that was the juice that they have on the recruiting trail, and the transfer portal feels more profound and depthier than the high school ranks. Not to say that they don't have that in the high school ranks right now, but you're talking about, you're probably gonna have a top 5 to 10 class for the transfer rankings, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and they have more evidence at the transfer level, right, team success level, they're just starting to get it. And it's like, oh, we're developing the Pat Paytons and the things like that. The transfer guys, they've been doing it even when FSU was garbage juice on the field. They still had Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas and all those guys that are showing up in the league. So I do want to get to the listener questions, so I'm going to group these next two guys together. Auburn interior offensive lineman Keandre Jones, Colorado interior offensive lineman Casey Roddick. Roddick is the guy that has seen as the more versatile, the more veteran type presence. Keandre Jones, by some, they don't know. I wouldn't say backup option, but like he's getting calls from UCF. What's the deal with Keandre? One, does he have an offer? Two, does FSU want to take two? Do they only take Keandre if they miss on Byers? Like, what's the deal? Does Florida State want all three of the guys, Byers, Jones, and Roddick, that they're linked to? Is there a tier system? Is one a backup plan without even knowing it? Zach, give me these are all the questions and things that I've heard. Give me the scoop on these three offensive linemen. Do we want them all? Are we going to get them all?
Yeah. So I think to start off.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Yes.
We're getting them all. Perfect.
Next
Clip
question.
that. Yep.
To start off, FSU wants all three.
Okay.
They would take all three, in my opinion, based on some conversations I've had. I think if any three wanted in, they take them. FSU needs to load up again on the O line, right? They have a decent amount of guys that are leaving. Jason Turnitine, Dylan Gibbons, and Dimitri Emanuel, all starters on the offensive line. Jazz was on and off, but was playing starting snaps for a lot of games. So FSU needs to beef up, and especially on the interior, and that's kind of why you see a lot of interior targets for them, and a Casey Roddick or Keandre Jones, like you mentioned. I think Jeremiah Byers, if you had to list them of guys of priority, I think Jeremiah Byers is probably above the other two. Then I would go Casey Roddick, then Keandre Jones. That's not a knock on any of those. I just think that's kind of what the body of work of all three of those guys shows. Jeremiah Byers is a guy that's extremely coveted in the portal. As far as the chances, right? So I think Jeremiah Byers, FSU has a really good shot there. He visited last weekend for an official, and then went straight to Maryland for an official right after the FSU trip. Haven't caught up with him after those two visits, but based on what's happening in Tallahassee, they feel pretty good about where they stand there. There's a possibility he goes somewhere this weekend, but that hasn't been confirmed to us, and I haven't seen a report of that anywhere else, across any networks.
That's pretty good for it being Thursday, man. You'd think you'd want to have these officials set up. That is kind of interesting that not one has been set up.
Maybe no one's reporting on it.
Well, that is a dynamic that we found. That's not to be.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Okay, let's go ahead, air it out. This is the OV with Zach Blostein. We talk about whatever you want to talk about, Zach. What do you want to talk about?
It's not a huge thing, but Brendan and I were talking about this today on our own.
Do you want me to dive on this, fall on the sword, Zach?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, please.
That's usually how it goes.
Festivus, go ahead and rant. You're in a ranty mood today. Go ahead, let it ride.
Festivus for the rest of us. I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're gonna hear about it. So I don't think this is not meant to be a knock on other people in our network or other networks. Very few reporters cover a team that's been as active in the transfer portal the last several years as Florida State. And so we've become very adept at covering it. And we've also seen its importance. And I'm a big nerd and a big weirdo who dove into it, as being excited by the transfer portal will be fun to cover. So with that in mind, that's been a priority for us. We've emphasized that with our coverage the last few weeks, and that's aligned well with FSU utilizing it to this extent. With all that being said, we are usually the ones I think we've found knowing if someone's visiting or not, or other people are putting the same priority on breaking transfer portal news turn by turn that we are. And it's different. So there's stuff that may not be happening it may be happening that we just honestly don't really know. That's
correct.
This is not our job to go cover a visit from another school. So that's the issue that we've run into is we're trying to figure out where guys are going. But it's hard because, unless we reach out to the prospect specifically, it's a little bit difficult to find out where they're expected in for visits.
I agree. Yeah, and I'm with you on that, Zach. I think that the method, and this was an active choice that Knowles 24/7 chose to provide the most value to their listeners, a constant stream of consciousness, just dopamine through the news. It's very addictive. It's very nice, dude. All the tech overlords in Silicon Valley, they're all about it because we have you guys constantly refreshing the board, but that takes a lot of work to put in. And it doesn't mean necessarily that any other networks are bad. It's just an active choice. I foresee, based on the traffic after all this stuff, there's going to be a lot of other team sites that choose to cover it the way that we're choosing to cover it. Just right now, I think that it is important to note that just because it's not reported doesn't mean that it's not happening. So keep an eye out. We had an incident with Conrad Hussey, right, who's going up to Colorado, not singularly.
That was a good example of that, of someone that was reporting. So I appreciated the Colorado site actually reported that. We'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, but let's flip it back to the O-line. I was talking about, Jeremiah Byers. Think FSU has a good shot there. Still maybe some visits, unknown visit maybe happening this weekend. We'll see. I'll try and check in with him maybe tomorrow and kind of see if he's anywhere. As far as the other two, Casey Roddick was at NC State last weekend. FSU's gone and seen him in home both weeks. Feel pretty good about FSU's shot or chances there. I think, immediately when he entered the portal last week, FSU seemed to have really early momentum there, and I think that might hold true. I don't know if NC State did enough to kind of push FSU away from this one. I think that they're probably at the leading position for him, and obviously they're getting him on campus this weekend for the OV, so it looks good there. And then Keandre Jones is an interesting one. Like we mentioned with Braden Fisk, he started his visit today on Thursday around midday, and he will be on campus into Saturday, but not Sunday, meaning that he'll have extra time before the dead period hits, which begins at Sunday at midnight. So Monday at 12:01 a.m. Recruits can't be on any campuses anywhere across the country. Keandre Jones is expected, from what I'm hearing, to be at UCF after the FSU visit. If you're wondering, why UCF? Well, he was recruited to Auburn by Gus Malzahn, who is now the head coach at UCF. That's the connection there. They're a school that I've heard that's been involved since when he entered the portal. West Virginia is another program that got him on campus for an OV, and then I think Pittsburgh is another team of note. But I think this probably comes down to FSU and UCF. FSU feels pretty good. There's a lot of connections there. I know I said that Winston Wright and him are close, and that it's because they're from the same area, not the same area in Georgia, but the same state.
Close enough. Nobody. We're not. Listen, sorry.
That was really upsetting for some, so I'm sorry.
Central Georgia would be reasonable.
So they know each other. Kalen DeLoach is another guy that is familiar with Keandre Jones. So I'm sure that players report back to campus. They're all home or on vacation for a couple of days before they restart bowl practices this weekend, and they'll be back on campus, I'm told, on Saturday. So that's kind of when the players will be around again. There you go. UCF, a P5 school next
Awesome, dude. Yeah, you can tell who's picking the comments on that one. Sorry for anybody mad at Zach's lack of Georgia geography. The guy's not Ferdinand Magellan. Hey, he's look at him. He's disheveled. He doesn't leave the Leon County area, dude. He's not allowed to go anywhere. He's stuck.
I don't know if Ingram Smith heard that, but he would be irate if he heard Zach say that LaGrange, Georgia, and Savannah, Georgia.
Did I even say that? I just said they're from a similar area, which is true. They're both from the same state.
These are facts. We just have some very observant and learned listeners here on the OV Noles 24/7 on the Bench Podcast Network. Daryl Jackson, I thought you guys did a masterful job on today's On the Bench talking about his story, committed to FSU, coming back. Let's get to the high school guys. If you want any more information on Daryl, Zach, I think, eloquently laid out the entirety of his journey on the bench today. Andy Jean, interesting recruitment, right? I think he was committed to Miami previously. Is that correct, Zach?
Yes.
Committed to
very brief time. They had a coaching change at receiver, and then that caused him to decommit shortly after.
Current UF commit, a guy that has been linked with Florida State a lot, and people, for whatever reason, it's one of those recruitments where it was okay, it was kind of like the Conrad Hussey thing. We kept mentioning his name in connection to FSU, and everybody's no, not happening. Well, he showed up for Florida State, and he's showing up on campus here. Florida State's got a lot of high school wide receivers committed right now. It's a room with a lot of players in it that really had a breakthrough year this year. What's the deal? how good are the chances with Andy Jean, Zach? I mean, is the current high school recruiting class going to keep the same composition, adding him? Are there some guys that maybe drop out of the class? Like, what's going on with the receiver room? It looks like we got a lot of options there, high school, portal, and on the roster.
Yeah, so I want to start off, still digging on this to be quite honest, but Goldie Lawrence is a Florida State 3-star receiver commit that's been in the class for a while, committed back in the spring. He is not going to be on campus this weekend, meaning that he will not likely use his official visit to FSU this cycle, which is unusual, obviously. We were told there's some school things going on, and that's why he's missing it. So not sure exactly what that means, but I'm still digging on, the details there. Doesn't sound, amazingly positive, but honestly don't want to, provide too much, information if I don't have a ton to report on. So definitely a thing of note as the guy, that may be up in question. Not really sure right now. But as we note on Andy Jean, maybe if Goldie leaves the class, I'm not predicting that to happen or saying that's going to happen. But if Andy Jean is, a guy that FSU wants to flip, maybe that creates an extra spot. We know receiver has been kind of a topic of discussion of people wondering, are they going to add another transfer receiver? Are they going to add another high school receiver? There's multiple high school wideouts that they've been involved with even within the past month or so. The guys like Micah Mays, Jalen Brown, and then Andy Jean. Andy Jean seems like the one guy that, if they are going to add another one, is the most likely because obviously they're getting him on campus this weekend. I was quick to kind of dismiss FSU's chances here, but, they get him on campus for the UF game, obviously gets to witness FSU win that classic game inside Doak Campbell Stadium. FSU fans rushed the field. It was an electric environment inside Doak Campbell Stadium. He was sitting inside FSU's recruiting section. And not only did he attend the game, but he was there for the day after to spend some more time around Mike Norvell and his staff. So, it's not just one of those, you got to commit from another school on campus, not really much to it. There is definitely something to it, especially, I think it's a little interesting, right? So UF is not on the road recruiting right now, like all other staffs, or not most other staffs. They're out in Las Vegas doing their bowl game practices. They left, I believe, either yesterday or the day before to head out there. So I was told that Billy Napier missed out on some in-homes. He did his in-home last week with Andy. I believe FSU went in-home this week, and that's kind of what prompted the official visit getting set up. Yeah, so definitely one to watch out for. UF continues to feel pretty confident about where they stand and his commitment status. There's been schools rumored to be involved with him for several weeks. According to, I was talking to Blake Alderman over at the UF site for 247. I think LSU's been involved, Louisville. These are all like rumored schools. He wasn't actually taking visits to my knowledge. But, it seems like, nothing materialized with those schools. But if he does indeed make it up to FSU this weekend, that's definitely one to watch as, he's expected to sign on this coming Wednesday on the 21st.
The Goldie stuff's interesting. Like you said, we'll get some more information on it, but that's highly unusual. So we'll see how that materializes. Brandon, Andy Jean's game? What do you like about his game? If you gotten a chance to take a look at what he does, what would he bring to the Florida State is looking for a guy that can. They've got a very complete wide receiver room. They could probably use a guy that can take the top off the defense. What does this kid bring before we talk about the last uncommitted prospect?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of Andy Jean. I haven't done the deep dive that I would normally do, but he's got decent size. But what I do like is that he's got a lot of speed. And he is a take the top off the defense type of wide receiver. He's got a decent build, 6'1". Let's see, I'll pull it up. Make sure I'm not too off on this. 180 pounds. So he's not huge, but decent size to go with someone who has a lot of straight line speed. So that's something that they, Hakeem Williams is this freaky, can do everything type of guy that you just want to see how he develops, what he molds into. Goldie Lawrence, kind of a possession type of wide receiver in my estimation. I know that they think some of his GPS times would indicate he's more than that. And then All-Day Dre's is just super twitchy, smooth, fluid, wide receiver. Andy Jean is that vertical threat that would really kind of complement that 4-man wide receiver mix. When those guys come of age. So to me, that's what he is. He's the deep go threat, which FSU could use more of those guys on the roster, to be honest. You had that in Ontario Wilson. Deuce Spann might become that, but you need a developmental guy in the mix as well to kind of stagger out the roster at that position group.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
Last uncommitted guy, Chris Otto, a guy from Key West, a guy that has gotten a lot of airtime on the bench. Nee loves him. You guys love him. You expounded greatly upon that, Lev, on today's episode of On the Bench. What I want to know is Florida State is Chris Otto's best offer by far in terms of pure football. This is a multifaceted, rounded kid. He's a film school kid. He's extremely intelligent. He's got Princeton offers, Stanford offers. Is there any reason why Florida State fans should not expect for this recruitment to be shut down in the early signing period with the quality of football offer that he has and the visits that he's taken?
Yes, because a school that's gotten in the mix recently is Penn State. They're obviously close to on par with Florida State. Whether I think it's just opinionated. Whether you think that's a better offer or worse offer, or whatever.
Sure,
it's
subjective, but yeah, that's arguable at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're a school that's trying to push him to sign in February. He's mentioned to us multiple times, to Chris and I, that the plan was to sign in February. But obviously, FSU, scheduling an official visit for the last week in December, thinks there's a chance that he could sign in December, which is, I think, what their goal is going to be this weekend. They've put a lot of time and effort into this recruitment. They're kind of the first big time school, other than the high academic schools that were involved with him really early, to get involved. They hosted him for a summer camp visit, and he got to work out one-on-one with Alex Atkins for that seminal showcase event at the end of July. And then he's been to multiple games. He's conducted in-home visits with Alex Atkins and Mike Norvell over the past 2 weeks, and then finally gets the official visit going for this weekend. A few things to know that kind of tend to make me think that FSU wants to try and get him to sign in December. Norvell, if he's going to sign in February, Norvell only gets one in-home visit with a prospect, regardless of, whether it happens in December or January during this contact period.
Right.
So if he's already done it with Chris Otto, meaning that he thinks there's a shot that he signs in December, because, if they don't get him to sign in December, he won't be able to visit Otto in January. I think that probably wouldn't be favorable. So definitely a thing they'll try to push for. And he's a guy that FSU has liked forever. Alex Atkins is liked a ton, and a guy that they think has some position versatility along the offensive line. Maybe projects best at center, but also a guy that can move to either guard or tackle, depending on the situation.
You think? I mean, Zach, you're going to have way more information 2 or 3 days from now.
Yeah.
Expanding out a little bit, does Florida State shut this Chris Otto recruitment down?
I think it's more likely than not they do.
God, you're such a freaking politician. God, I love you guys. I know, because you're going to get it. You're going to get it in the message boards. I'm going to have to learn to speak like that, but more likely than not at this moment, correct?
Yeah, you be the non-politically correct one, but because we need someone to do that.
I like to go with "I believe" is usually my
the couch.
We expect. The expectation is, I believe,
as things stand right now,
things could always change, but I think that's the goal. And I think that FSU's put enough time and effort into this recruitment, and shown him that, they've made him a priority forever, right? These teams are trying to get in late. I think he values film school a lot, and FSU is one of the best in the country at having a great film school. I mean, it's highly prestigious and really hard to get into, and I think that's going to be a focal point of his official visit this weekend. I would predict him to sign early as of right now.
Right. I like that.
As of right now.
Per this report at this moment of time, timestamp Thursday night. Listen, the last guys that are on the list are all committed dudes. They're all extremely important. They're all extremely talented. I think that you guys, once again, did a wonderful job on the bench of describing their games, the importance. Kids like Hakeem Williams that nobody thought we would even get has been extremely rock solid and a bell cow. If you want some more information on the Florida State committed prospects, listen on the bench, because I really want to get to your listener questions for the last 10 or 15 minutes. Guys, is there anything in that committed group of dudes, Kenton Kirkland, Jabril Rawls, Keith Sampson, Hakeem Williams, Vandrevius Jacobs, Lamont Green Jr., we expect all those guys they're still rock solid FSU commitments, signing early type dudes, right? Nothing for Florida State fans to fear there, correct?
Yeah, the only one I would
Brendan did a pen thing.
Zach's going to know very politician-y of me. This is how I put my thumb here. That's how politicians
That's
talk.
great. That's wonderful form, Brendan. Now, what are you going to say?
KJ Sampson, Keith Sampson's probably someone we need to discuss real quick. Is that what you were going to say, Zach?
Yes. Thanks
I'll
for
let you.
stealing the thunder. Keith Sampson. This is the official visit with Zach. So Brendan, you're going to get kicked off the official visit soon if you don't stop. Jaleel Skinner style. No, but I think that I'm losing my train of thought now.
Keith Sampson. Why do we need to talk about him?
Yeah. So Keith Sampson is a guy that FSU or has told FSU that he might sign in February, and that's not based at least on the cover of what he's saying on him wanting to take more visits. I think he took an official visit to NC State last weekend. He says that the reason why he'd want to sign in February is because he wants to sign alongside all his high school friends.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that FSU would love, right? Like they want to have their entire commitment list kind of locked up, not have to worry about another guy that's still not signed in January, because I know a bunch of schools will probably start coming after him if they miss on some guys. So
defensive lineman, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think that'll be the focus of this weekend. Make whatever it is, sign this weekend silently, and then go sign with your buddies in February and make it a whole ceremony. Like
do the Brock Glenn thing. They did it at Lausanne and in Tennessee, and Brock just like put his John Hancock on an empty piece of paper, but they all sat at the table with their special hats on.
I understand the significance of it, but at the end of the day,
so do I.
Paper, like whether you put that in now or in February, it still means the same thing. So like, okay, if you send in I can't stand Brendan right now.
It's the face. It's me and you. Eye contact. You look at me, Zach. Yeah. Don't look at that giggly McGee over there.
Yeah,
look at me.
Look at the camera, but I keep
say February again.
Making all these weird faces.
Say February.
Yeah, that's one thing to know. And then Hakeem, guy that we fully expect to sign with FSU on Wednesday, but a guy that's obviously super talented. Just actually rose up to number 15 in the rankings for the new 24/7 Sports Top 247, which is huge because that cements him basically as a 5-star prospect. They did say there's like a new rankings process. Guys can actually drop out of being a 5-star for the first time.
Not our boy.
Yeah,
not today, Junior.
15, so it'd take a crazy amount of jumping or leaping, whatever, for him to drop out, which I don't expect. He's gonna do, I believe, one of the All-Star games, and then probably enroll at FSU after that. He's been rock solid. Texas A&M, Miami, Colorado with Dion have even tried to get in that recruitment. Did not take visits to any of those schools, and he will visit the FSU this weekend, and then is expected to sign on Wednesday.
Love to hear that. The Keith Sampson thing, I think, is interesting because he has been, like Hakeem, one of the most vocal, solid, committed FSU prospects, so keep an eye on that. Let's get to the listener questions. I'm going to go from the Knowles 24/7 message board first because, guys, we love all you guys that are on YouTube. Subscribe. Brendan is doing the Scrooge McDuck money hands. If you're not on the board, do it. You'll get it there first. You may get it somewhere afterwards, but after old man Brendan's rant, I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. So go to the message board and get this information first, better, and maybe the only place. Renegade 850 says, how much truth are there to the rumors about Gilbert Edmond, the defensive edge prospect from South Carolina? Mike Norvell, the bane of Shane Beamer's existence. No dancing in his future. What do you think about Renegade 850's question? Any noise around Gilbert, a guy that Florida State kicked the tires on when he was a high school prospect?
Yeah, so when Mike Norvell first got to Florida State in that first class where he basically had a month and change to make something happen, Gilbert Edmond was a guy that FSU kind of flirted with a little bit. They were going to bring him in on an OV, but they did not offer him a scholarship to my knowledge, and that kind of caused him to not want to take that OV. He basically committed to South Carolina instead. He's been there for 3 years, put up some pretty solid production, especially this past year. I think he had 9 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. A guy that if you go over to the South Carolina boards right now, they're not very happy to lose. As far as FSU's involvement right now, I think it's still in the very early stages. I think they're doing some, a lot of research on him.
Due diligence?
Yeah.
Due diligence?
They're doing film, watching. We were told today that they're going to look into him. Tonight. A guy that there definitely seems to be some interest for, but I don't think it's too developed as of right now. we'll continue to update, you guys on where that thing stands over the next couple of days.
Always got to look at quality edges in the transfer portal,
Definitely.
especially we don't know what Jared Verse is going to do yet.
And
I think that it's go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say, this year it's been kind of barren when it comes to defensive ends in the portal, right? Like there hasn't been that, Jared Verse type of player to enter, at least to my knowledge. There's been a couple intriguing edge guys, but no one to like an elite level like a Jermaine or Jared. And there just hasn't been a lot of them, especially. There's been a few guys that, are kind of solid or are pretty good, but not a lot of them. They're few and far between.
Brandon, you agree with that? You're Portal Boy. You look at all these kids. What do you think?
Yeah,
Portal Boy. What do you think, Portal Boy? Tell me what you think, Portal Boy.
I'm going to change my name to that in a minute. Yeah, the defensive end market is pretty barren, to Zach's point. It is USC just got a commitment from a Georgia State transfer. I think at like 4.5, 5 sacks this past year. So you're talking about a G5 guy with minimal production, decent metrics, and now they're going to probably host was it Josiah Stewart, I think it is, from Coastal Carolina.
That was the guy I was thinking of.
Okay, he's super intriguing and was really good 2 years ago, but I think his production dropped quite a bit this past year too, and he's got officials set up and down to Michigan and USC. When you're talking about two playoff caliber teams that are playing host to a good group of 5 guy, but not like a dominant Jared Verse FCS or someone with this high end production. So yeah, that'll make if Jared Verse decides to potentially come back, he's going to have a lot of leverage if he wants it. I did want to throw out a question to both of you guys.
Oh,
as we do all this analysis, all this PFF stuff, all this film breakdowns, the X's and O's guys are great. Is there any example or indication of how good a player is or isn't based on a fan base's reaction when they leave?
Yes. Go to their tweet of when they're announcing they're going into the transfer portal, and watch the quote tweets and the replies. If all the fans are saying, "Good luck, loved having you here, wish you the best," the rest of your career.
The nicer the message, the worse the player.
Yep.
Exactly. That means they were not very good. If they are really upset in the comments and why are you doing this? You were a big dude here. What do you mean? That means that they're losing a solid contributor on their team. So that's definitely how you measure whether a guy is valued in the fan base at the very least.
Look at is everybody going to be an amateur Todd McShay? Look out for the shadowy character concerns that everybody gives a crap about once they lose their kid. I'm with you, Zach. I think the level of vitriol is a nice barometer. And then look for despair. Florida State fans, you should be pretty familiar with despair. Look for the despair in the comments. The more despair you see, the more happy that you should be. And I think that based on the kids that have left, there's been a decent amount of despair out of Florida State's 3 that they've gotten so far. So I think we're done pretty good. Let me just clear this up. This is going to take care of a million questions. I'm going to ask you both this at the same time. Are there any surprise visitors scoop that you're sitting on right now? If you are, don't say the name. They're surprises for a reason. We don't want to blow it at the end, Mimsy style. But are you sitting on any surprise visitor scoop at the moment that you'll be dropping tomorrow? Yes or no?
Honestly, no. The one thing we were monitoring was the Keldrick Falk thing reported. I broke it on here right away when this thing started that he will be on campus for an unofficial visit. He tells me. That's the one thing that we were waiting on. Not really surprised because we hinted at it earlier in the week that he had the decision to make as far as whether he'd be here or going to Auburn for an OV. Tells me that it will be FSU for an unofficial visit this weekend.
Okay. I like that. So moving on to that, momentum, secret visitors, juice, flips. The people love flips, especially after what happened last year. Ricky O8811. That's a fun combination of random numbers. FSU will flip at least 2 recruits on early signing day. So I want you to tackle the actual number. They'll flip 2 or more, obviously, Portal Boy. But what do you guys think the potential is right now for actually, yeah, is it going to be a Garnet trickle, a Garnet wave, or a Garnet drought? Let's talk about it in political numbers. What kind of exciting signing day should we expect from Florida State? embarrassment, strength, A-bomb, meh? What are you guys thinking right now? We're going to have more info in the past couple days, but I'm asking you now on Thursday night.
Zach, who are the flip targets for Florida State right now?
The two I can think of off the top of my head are Conrad Hussey and Andy Jean.
Those are the two, yeah.
I don't know if I'm missing any, but
what do you think about Hussey's visit to Colorado? It's not a singular visit. He's going with some Aquinas kids. He's going to see Deion, who is backed by some NIL. He's a Hall of Fame defensive back. However, a lot of the draw that he had was the very legitimate and appealing claim of taking HBCU football back to prominence. He doesn't have that anymore. I'm from Iowa. Colorado's just a shade less white than Iowa, right? Like you don't have that anymore. It's just a nothing school in the mountains. I don't know what you're selling. So should Florida State fans be more worried about Deion at a bigger school, or should we be less worried about Deion with a less appealing message? In my opinion, I thought he had a very compelling one, and it showed based on his results.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deion's a dangerous recruiter wherever he goes, just because of his prolific history as one of the best defensive backs to ever do it. And Conrad Hussey is a defensive back, a safety prospect. So that, certainly could be a sell for Colorado in that recruitment. But also he just has more resources, right? Like he doesn't have that great story to tell as far as, come here, make this HBCU great, which is, kind of, what helped him turn around that program and make it so great while he was there.
Yeah, it's inspiring, man.
Yeah.
It really was. It really was an inspiring message, and it really stuck.
Definitely. So I don't know. I think that's to be seen, but I think, whenever Deion's involved in recruitment, anything can happen. Colorado probably has more booster and NIL backing than Jackson State does. Whether Barstool's involved or not, I don't know.
Under Armour, things of that nature, right? Deion's got his own guys that he's coming to the dance with, right? Yeah. Deion's a brand.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I definitely do think that Colorado's probably at least a significant threat, right? Like they're getting the last shot at him, the last face-to-face interaction with him before he puts pen to paper on Wednesday. So there's definitely something to it. He's also visiting, like you said, with two of his St. Thomas Aquinas teammates. One of his teammates is committed to Colorado already. I think his name is Isaiah Harge. There's some family relationship there between him and Conrad. So not sure exactly the dynamics, but they've been linked together throughout the recruitment. He's been, visiting schools similar to him. So, maybe that's a sell. But Colorado's definitely a factor. Guy we didn't note that's possible flip watch is Virginia linebacker commit Cameron Robinson.
Good call.
Who visited last weekend. They're helping me out in the chat with that, honestly.
Thanks, chat boys.
But yeah, he's a guy that FSU definitely has a shot to flip. And I think Virginia, from what I understand, feels like it's them and FSU down the stretch as far as who's battling it out for that one up until signing day.
So two of those three. Now we got to answer the question. Two of those three, you think it's going to happen? And it's those three that mentioned. Maybe there's a surprise lurking in the wings. What do you think, Brendan?
Wait, real quick. There was just an update within the last few minutes from our Wahoo 24/7 site, as our Virginia site. So Tony Elliott is visiting Cameron Robinson tonight, along with 8 other coaches.
Oh, the Ocho.
8. So they have 9 coaches there sitting at them right now to try to prevent this flip. So you have any indication of how they feel about his chances right now, or where he's at, or how threatened they are by Florida State? I think that is as good of an example as I can get.
Yeah, it was like it's like Tony Elliott and like all of Cromartie's like children, man. That's quite a brood that they're sending up there. They really don't want to lose this kid.
The visit went so well that he tweeted out just a couple or 30, 45 minutes ago, I will be taking an official visit tomorrow to South Carolina. Probably tweeted out while the 8 coaches were talking.
Maybe they all helped him craft the tweet too. We're like, well, we'll help you on the way out here.
Oh man, that's a tough scene. That's a tough scene, boys.
Let's see. I think the over, the line you would set is at 1.5 for this. I'll go with over.
Just answer the guy's question. Are they going to get 2 or more? You don't get to recraft Ricky O 8811's question. They're going to get 2 or more.
How dare you, Brendan?
Are they getting 2, Brendan?
2.
Yes, two? You just saying the number. Yes, they're going to get
Yes,
two,
two.
right?
Sorry, there's things happening in the group chat that I'm trying to address with
Well,
poor Dane right now.
okay. Well, you guys chat it up in the group chat. You let us know everything. Zach, are you feeling is that preternatural that confidence that Brendan had? Are we thinking two or are we thinking less than?
I'm going one. So known.
So no. Okay.
I
This is your
know.
show, Zach. You don't have to bring any of that hippy dippy bull crap into your
True.
show.
Dude, buy or sell just doesn't sound normal anymore.
Yeah,
That's how
you're
bad it's
brainwashed. It's the same thing with J Trav. You guys adopted that nickname so fast.
Everyone
Let's
uses
see.
that now, though.
Is the U back? I don't care. Because they're not going to get coached no matter how many kids they have. J Knowles 07 over under 3 commits by Monday.
3 commits by Monday.
That seems, yeah. So 3 commits by Monday. That seems like a lot because National Signing Day is.
Why would they? I'm going under. It's on Wednesday. Yeah.
However, do you think that there's an opportunity for more those would have to be transfer portal guys, right?
Yeah.
I don't see a high school guy committing before early signing day. Do you think that there's a possibility for some transfer portal commits before early signing day by Monday?
Yes, but I don't think there's 3 or more of those.
No, and I'd go under 2 just because even with the kids that FSU closed on, Jaheim Bell, I think Jaheim Bell's happened on a Monday. Morlock, who they sewed up and did a great job, that still took a couple of days to materialize, right? So these kids are analytical, they're logical, they're making quick decisions, but I know we want the commit graphics now. I'm not seeing it by Monday. How would you compare last year's recruiting class to this year's? How does it differ? That's the same thing as compare. Chris K954 wants to know. What do we think? Comparing, I don't know if he just wants high school for high school, if he wants entirety for entirety. Portal Boy, I'm going to let you figure out how you answer that question. What do you think about Tribe 23 versus Tribe 22?
Should I try rephrasing the question at all or just answer it directly?
It depends on how annoyed I am with you. So I'll let you do whatever you want for now.
Good to know that we're entering treacherous waters early on here. I think what we're going to see this end up with is this is going to sound weird given to what the portal did for FSU this past year. I think the upside of this portal class, it'll be ranked markedly higher for sure. I think the upside of potential NFL draft picks coming out of this portal class is going to be higher. I think you have more pro caliber guys that you're going to be adding immediately from this class. And then obviously the upside, there's no one from last year's cycle that was as high upside as Hakeem Williams from the high school ranks. So
both classes are better, right? I think transfer is going to be better, and then high school is better, right?
Yeah, I think so. And both the upside and the floor is both higher. So yeah, I think right now you're looking at will be a easily a better class. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the composition of both classes is a little different. Last year was a lot about the trenches, and FSU in 2023 also loaded up on the D line. Last year they took, I think, 4 offensive linemen out of the high school ranks, and also took a decent bit of D linemen. This year is a lot more skill based, right? They have 3 receivers committed, and just at every skill, or obviously bring in a quarterback, and they've got some skill guys coming through the portal as well. So definitely some differences in composition. Only 1 offensive lineman committed out of the high school ranks right now in Lucas Simmons. So that's a big difference, right? Like last year, they were trying to load up that room with a bunch of young dudes. This year is kind of more selective. Really only the top tier talent, like a Lucas Simmons. They obviously had Rod Kearney committed, but he flipped. And they have a guy like Chris Otto that they might try to add late. So, yeah, just different compositions. But I think overall, this year's class is going to finish better, both at the high school rank and in the portal.
I like the strategy too. If you had to do the order of operations of which heavy class you'd want first, load up on the linemen first because those guys take a lot of years to develop. I think a lot of people may be surprised at how many linemen in the portal we are going after that huge haul last year. I don't think that that's indication that a lot of those guys busted. We've seen Armella play. We've heard good stuff about kids like Jalen Early. Those kids just need some seasoning, so I like that. You're going to be seeing a lot from those kids in the next coming years, in my opinion. But I do think this year is going to be better on both fronts. Let's see. Jamrock Knoll wants to know who's the next transfer portal commit that FSU is going to get. Takes a little bit of, prognosticating out, so put all your little political words in front of it that you want so you don't get bitched at on the board.
I believe I'll go with Casey Roddick. I think FSU's in a good position.
That's a
for
solid
him.
bet.
Yeah, just to not copy Brendan, I'll go Keandre Jones.
I like that. Both the interior guys, just the different one. Let's see. I'm looking for the one question. Start getting some questions from the chat because we've answered pretty much all of them here. There was a question. Sylvester Stapone. Oh, nice. Does Zach only talk to recruits themselves, or does he sometimes talk to their moms? Additionally, does Zach like moms? Zach, how many moms do you talk to per week? Do you prefer the moms over every other family member? How much extra recruiting are you doing when it comes to the moms of South Florida?
Literally, I've, I think, spoken to one mom within the past maybe 3 years. I think I've maybe done 2 interviews with moms ever. Actually, no.
You never forgot them, did you?
That's not true. I did one over the summer with Jaden Jones, the JUCO D-line commit's mom.
Ooh, we landed him. Nice work.
Yeah.
Nice work. That was a quick recruitment.
Even though Jaden Jones is the only 2 that I can remember that I've done that with. So I'm not.
Wait a minute. Who was the other one? It was Bell and so you're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll get you. All right. We'll get you in front of some more moms. You're quite a closer yourself, man. Get yourself a little garnet jacket. I think all the other ones from the Knowles 24/7 thread we have answered. Brendan, are there any interesting questions?
Questions are awful. Sorry, guys.
Gotta have a poker face, man. These are our loyal listeners.
Oh, I mean,
that's right. You're just scouring for the best of the best. Cream of the crop, as they say.
This is us delaying for you guys to think of something good in the next.
Brendan, you don't tell them. You don't tell them when you're clearing air. Like you don't tell people you're going to edit a podcast when you never edit it, and you don't tell people when you're clearing air.
You need to go away with these percentage questions. I'm sorry. Whatever.
I think
95%.
That's pretty good. What do you think? Nick Brown Fishing, percentage of Falk signs with FSU on Wednesday. Brendan. Zach goes 95. What do you go?
98.7%.
99.4 for Trey Rowland. Fantastic. It's a near lock, but just enough to give me some wiggle room.
Here's a good one.
Rob Alvarez, Tavian Gadsden. What's up with that?
Thanks, Rob. Good question.
Yeah, that's
there's a couple interesting guys in this class. The Goldie Lawrence thing is interesting. The Tavian Gadsden thing is really interesting. DeMarco Ward, there was some chatter around that, but it looks like the coaches went and visited him this week. I saw that he posted something on Twitter. What's going on with Gadsden, boys?
Sorry, I'm making a text to Dane again.
Come on, Dane.
He's a lost puppy. Got to guide him a
Lead him
little
away,
bit.
yeah.
As far as Tavian Gadsden, I'm told that's a gray shirt situation, meaning that if he were to come to FSU, he would not enroll until January of next year. So not this coming January of 2024. So that would be a situation where FSU would not be wanting to, enroll him into the program right away. So the most likely scenario is he probably finds another spot. I know Tennessee and Kentucky are 2 other schools that have done in-home visits with him. So not sure exactly where his recruitment stands as far as what other schools are involved, but he's not a guy that FSU is looking to sign on Wednesday.
Unexpected situation there, or something that's kind of coming to a natural conclusion over the past weeks and months?
Sorry, texting Dan again.
That's okay. I would have filled the air for you. It's okay, no problem, bud.
Sorry, I'm handling the Dane.
But no one's telling him that. Sorry. Anyway, professional show here. I think the situation's. You asked basically whether this.
Are they surprised by this development, or is it something that we kind of foresee this coming down the road? It's been a weird recruitment. He committed, and then it was kind of just he's off in the ether a little bit. What?
Yeah, I mean, not super surprising. I don't know if it's something months ago that they expected, but something that it didn't just come across within the last couple of weeks and just surprise them. It's something that I think gradually led to a decision as to what what their plan was going to be for him moving forward. And they came to that decision a couple of weeks ago and have stuck with it.
Okay, good stuff. Guys, do we have time for any more questions in the YouTube chat? Are there any that's worthy, or do you guys need to go help Dane with a severe mental breakdown or whatever that's happening? Rob Alvarez wants to know, would we take both Devontae Brown and Fentrell Cypress? I think that's another thing, too. Devontae Brown His recruitment has got a little bit more interesting. There seems to have been some more interest that has picked up. Where do we sit? Tanner Brooks wants to know what's going on with the Browns.
Yeah.
Boys,
So
what is going on with the Browns?
with the Browns, I think the story of the older Brown, Devontae Brown, the UCF defensive back transfer, is that Miami's gotten into the picture as of late. They went to go do an in-home with him on Wednesday down in South Florida. He started the day actually in Orlando, did in-home with FSU, and then went down to South Florida and did an in-home with the Miami staff. At last check, he was not planning to be anywhere this weekend, but I'm going to check on that again, probably either tonight or tomorrow, and see if he plans to be anywhere. He said he'd likely have a decision next week. Damari Brown is a little bit different because Alabama's also in the mix, and they might be the leader for him as things stand right now. Obviously, Miami's not trying to make that an easy decision, and Florida State's also involved. They saw him as well this week. That was earlier on this week, I believe, on Monday. So FSU's still involved with both of them. I think if you're kind of hedging your bets, I would bet more so that Devontae Brown ends up in FSU's class than Damari. I think they're both making separate decisions, right? They've talked about the plan to maybe play together at the next level, but it's not something that they're hinging on in their recruitment, right? Like they're not, we have to go to this school or we're not coming. Like that, I don't think that, and I think FSU likes both of them individually, and I think Miami, it might be a little different based on a conversation I had this past week. Like maybe the only way they take Devontae is if Damari's in as well. Not sure that exact situation, obviously, because I don't cover that team, but I asked about that specifically with our Miami writer, and he let me know that that might be the case. So, if you were betting, or if I were betting, I think Devontae Brown would be more likely than Damari, because I think Alabama probably leads the race for the younger Brown brother.
All right, last question of the night, so you can save Dane from his downward spiral. Josh Martin wants to know, does the staff know something about Jamie Robinson that we don't? A guy that we thought was a surefire NFL draft announcee at a time when there's a lot of other guys making their way to go to the NFL draft doing those announcements. Jamie has conspicuously not. Okay, pointy boys. What do we think? Talk about Jamie, and then also give an update on what you guys have heard about Verse, Love It, and then we'll end this first super professional, not stupid at all, giggly version of the official visit with Zach Blostein.
Does this happen with any of your other co-hosts, Trey, or is this just when I'm around?
No, this is fine. I think it's really a couple points ain't that big of a deal, brother. You're doing a wonderful job.
All right, so Jamie Robinson, there is a chance that he comes back, as we understand it here on Thursday evening, right? Right now, yes, there is a chance. I don't know if it's a great chance, but it's something that is being weighed and considered. I do believe the NFL draft grades came back the last few days. Now you further vet that a little bit more, because you get a first round grade, a second round grade, or something beyond that. So you have to figure out
go back to school, or there's a return to school suggestion, isn't there?
Yeah, and then you can actually get more in-depth feedback beyond just this cookie cutter suggestion initially. So that's all stuff that's happening right now. There is a chance for Jamie Robinson to come back. I think FSU. I don't think FSU would. FSU would open him or embrace him with open arms. But part of the reason why safety isn't being pursued super actively in the portal, to answer the second part of the listener question there, it's not a good market right now for safety, which is kind of surprising, given that it's a position that it's not a dime a dozen, but it's one that you'd expect, like the slot wide receiver market is booming right now. And you expect that to be a little bit more the case for safety. That's not the case. So that drives up the value for Jamie Robinson. If he does decide to return, for sure, it becomes a bigger priority for FSU to retain, because there haven't been a whole lot of yes, go on this guy. Like Jason Maitri from Boston College is the guy they like. He claims an offer. I believe it's a legitimate offer. But I don't know if he'd be able to commit today if he wanted to. We don't know him to be someone who's visiting this weekend. I think he would maybe be more likely that January 4th to, was it 8th?
That second opening of his,
exactly. So to answer that question, with Jamie Robinson, they know that there's a chance he comes back, and they know what the safety market is right now, and that's why.
There's a chance for all three: Robinson, Verse, and Love It. Yep. Rank them in order of likelihood that they will be playing for Florida State next year. And if there's any one of the three that you think it's more likely than not that they return, go ahead and say that.
I would go with the most likely right now. And I would have not thought this 2 months ago. I would certainly not thought it 2 weeks ago, or maybe even 2 or 3 days ago. I think Jamie Robinson's the most likely to return.
Whoa.
Crazy.
I would put him at 1.
Crazy.
Insane.
I would put him at 1 right now. But these guys are all kind of tiered up together. Like,
Sure.
I don't think there's just a crazy like difference. But I think number 2 for me would be Jared Verse. I think Jared would be second right now. I think that it's kind of close to a coin flip decision for him. I was told, Trey, that he will look to make a decision after FSU's bowl game at the end of the month here in December. So probably a little bit more waited out and see time as far as I understand it right now. I don't expect that to be an imminent announcement. That was information I got earlier today. So relatively up to date. And then third would be Fabian Lovett. I said with Fabo, like last week, I thought maybe like a 40% chance he would return. There's a chance. I think all these guys are pretty close to like 40 to 50%, maybe even.
That's
like,
pretty good, dude. You flip a coin 3 times, you're going to get heads at least once. Right?
Once. I think if I had to say how many of those guys come back, I think 1 is probably like the most likely scenario there. Yeah.
Is 2 more likely than 0?
Yes, I think so.
I don't think so.
Do you think 0
likely than 0?
Zach's also the pessimist of our Knowles 24/7.
Otherwise, would be known as the optimist website. No, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely been our reputation over the years.
Yeah. Zach, is 1 the most
you.
likely option for you, or is 0 the most likely option?
I think 1.
That's still pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Those were 3 guys that we thought no chance they'd come back.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking. Like, those are 3 guys that I don't think any FSU fan within, before the last couple of weeks was expecting back. Maybe Verse just because he's only been here a year, but the other 2 guys, like, no way. So it's really impressive that it's even come down to them making these hard decisions. So we'll see, but I think it's more likely they get 1 than 2 to come back.
I love
Maybe there's a ripple effect, right? Like if Jamie says he's coming back, then Fabo or Verse might be more inclined to do so. Or I think that might be more of the case on the defensive line, right? Like if Verse is coming back, like Fabo's like, man, like I'd love to play on a D line with him again.
You start to have a cascade effect.
Yeah.
Shout out Ingram Smith, Battles End. You guys are doing work. Keep her going. Listen, you know what else is impressive? The first ever episode of The Official Visit with Zach Blostein. And luckily for you guys, you get to have way more than 5 of these because I know that the reception is just going to be absolutely resounding on this. I think this is something we're going to continue. Recruiting never sleeps, and neither does the staff at Knowles 24/7. If you guys like this, let us know. I think it could be something that's got some potential for some recurring staying power. For Brendan Sano, for Zach Blostein, I am Trey Rowland. This was the first episode of The Official Visit. Subscribe to the Knowles 24/7 YouTube. Go on the board, please, or Brendan will shame you online if you have any information that came from us without attribution. You're a dead man to Portal Boy. I am Trey Rowland. Love you guys. Keep chopping on. Gonna be a fun weekend.